बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम स्टूडेंट्स, कैसे हैं आप सब लोग? उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सब खैरियत के साथ होंगे and I welcome you all here today to the 13th lecture of consumer psychology. So let us start as usual with a brief review of what we discussed in our last lecture. Students, in our last lecture we started the third chapter, the title of which was market segmentation. And in our last lecture we had a detailed discussion on the introduction of market segmentation. We started out our lecture with a small question as to what constitutes market. And we found out that market consists of people. But do you think that all kinds of people are included in the market? Not really. I told you certain characteristics of the people who can be included in the market. These characteristics of the people are that they have the willingness to buy, number one. Number two, they have the power to purchase different products. And number three, they have the authority to buy. Let's discuss these factors briefly. When we talked about the willingness to buy, this is very, very important for the consumers to be interested in certain kinds of products. And marketeers are often interested in creating or heightening interest level in their products amongst the consumers, which is why individualized and customized marketing mixes are designed for all kinds of products that are marketed into different segments. When we talk about the power to buy, we discussed that it is very important for the marketeers to understand that particular kind of consumers or consumers existing in certain segment, they have the power to buy, which is why all of the marketeers in the entire world would be always interested in taking their markets in the developed industrialized cities of the world, where people have more buying power, where economies are relatively more stable, and where the currencies are more strong. These are the places where marketeers would get better prices for their products, and they can generate better revenue, which can further be used to extend the product line or further develop the product features. So, in a way, marketeers always dream to take their products in the industrialized, developed cities of the world. We then discussed the concept of authority to buy. And I mentioned in the last lecture that when we talk about authority to buy, we can distinguish between two kinds of people. People who have the direct authority to purchase products, or people who can impact or influence the purchase decision of the person who has the direct authority to purchase the products. Let's say, for example, if I have to purchase something from the market, I could go there and I could use my own money and I could buy the products. But do you think that I am free in making that decision? Not exactly. In my purchase-related decisions, I am always impacted by my family members. I can be impacted by the significant people who exist in my immediate surroundings. And simultaneously, there is media that is constantly educating me on how to make my purchase-related decisions. So in a way, I have the direct authority to buy, but then there are people who indirectly impact my purchase decision. So these are the people who have the indirect authority, or who have the exercise, who have the power that could be exercised in influencing the decision of the person who has the direct authority to buy. At this point, we define market segmentation as a process of dividing market into distinct subsets of consumers who share similar characteristics. These are the people who have similar kinds of requirements, who have similar kinds of needs with reference to products. And we discussed that the market segmentation concept goes hands in hands with the concept of diversity. We can approach a certain population and we can find out that कि उस पॉपुलेशन के अंदर बेशुमार किस्म के लोग रहते हैं. उन लोगों में से जो सिमिलर लोग हैं, उनको एक जैसे ग्रुप के अंदर तकसीम कर देना is called the process of market segmentation. And market segmentation process goes hands in hands with the concept of diversity. At that time, I asked you one question, that why do you think we need to divide the people amongst different segments, amongst different groups of the consumers? Of course, a company has to go through extended pains in researching to identify that what kind of consumer groups exist out there. Then they have to use a lot of resources to support that kind of research. Usually product manufacturing companies come up with their own internal marketing research departments who are constantly devising different methods and utilizing different techniques to find out that how many ways can be used to divide people amongst different kinds of groups. At this point, there could be one scenario, okay, प्रोडक्ट्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनीज जो हैं वो सिर्फ एक ही प्रोडक्ट बनाएं और सिर्फ एक ही प्रमोशन और एडवर्टीजमेंट स्ट्रेटजी बनाएं और उसके हिसाब से उस एक प्रोडक्ट को एक एडवर्टीजमेंट स्ट्रेटजी के जरिए तमाम लोगों के अंदर मार्केट किया जा सके. व्हेन वी डिस्कस दिस पॉइंट वी आल्सो डिस्कस द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ mass marketing. Mass marketing is the concept that pertains to the very fact that one product can be developed by a products manufacturing company and it can be marketed through just one advertisement, a singular advertisement strategy, which means that there could be an undifferentiated marketing strategy to market one product in the entire population of consumers that could exist out there. Do you think that's possible? Well, at this point we discussed the example of refrigerator and we found out that if a company is making one standard size refrigerator, it might not fulfill the needs of all of the consumers out there. That refrigerator may be purchased by a gentleman who's bachelor and who's living in a bachelor accommodation of a studio apartment, and that refrigerator might not be relevant to the refrigerator size needs of that youngster. This refrigerator might be too big, and similarly a medium-sized refrigerator might be too small for a big family. If there is only one kind of product for the marketeer to market it, and the marketeer's job is to design only one kind of promotional strategy to market that product, then it is imperative for that marketeer to come up with some basic or generic need on the basis of which he tries to create appeal amongst the target consumers. The example would be more like it. Suppose there is a fast food restaurant. अगर उनको खाना बेचना है तो वो उसके लिए एक बहुत बेसिक जेनेरिक नीड को एडवर्टाइज करेंगे, विच इज़ कि आपको जब भूख लगे तो आप ये खाना खा लीजिए, जब आपका एनर्जी लेवल डाउन हो तो आप ये खाना खा लीजिए, इससे आपको राइट अमाउंट ऑफ एनर्जी मिल जाएगी. बट डू यू थिंक दैट्स अ गुड मार्केटिंग स्ट्रेटजी? रिसर्च से साबित ये हुआ है कि जब मार्केटियर्स किसी एक बेसिक जेनेरिक नीड को मार्केट करना शुरू करते हैं तो दे एंड अप अट्रैक्टिंग नो वन एट ऑल. Similar was the case with the refrigerator, same is the case with the food example. So undifferentiated marketing strategy is not a good strategy. However, there are certain kinds of products जिसके अंदर undifferentiated marketing strategy may be used, and these products fulfill some very basic or generic needs. These could be some agricultural medicine related products जो फार्मर्स यूज कर सकते हैं, और इस किस्म की प्रोडक्ट्स के अंदर बाज़ औक़ात इस तरह से होता है कि अनडिफरेंशिएटेड सेगमेंटेशन स्ट्रेटजी यूज की जाती है, बट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स दिस इज हाईली अनएडवाइजेबल टू यूज एन undifferentiated marketing strategy. At this point, we also discussed that who practices market segmentation. And we found out that market segmentation is a process that is practiced by every organization, institution out there. जितने भी इदारे हैं और जितनी भी किस्म के institutions हैं, सब इदारे और institutions को market segmentation का process use करना पड़ता है. And in this reference, we had examples of NGOs, we had examples of the consumer good industry. We discussed that there are certain kinds of products available in the market. These products are being sold in the market. For them, there is no segment-directed marketing activity. And we discussed the example of watches in this regard. When you go and try to purchase yourself a watch, since there is little segment-directed marketing activity, you have little knowledge about who are the main players in the watch industry. So you tend to get confused because you do not have prior brand information about those watches. At least that is the way the watches market is going on in Pakistan. We then discussed that how market segmentation operates. We also discussed in this reference how market segmentation is approached. And we discussed two main points. The first point was that market segmentation is used to fill in the gaps in the market. And in this reference, we discussed the example of company-fitted CNG cars in Pakistan. We discussed that CNGs were a very novel product about 12 years ago when some private companies had developed CNG kits. And these CNG kits, when these were used by the people people who were the consumers for those CNG kits, these kits gradually started getting more popular, and later on people found out that as the technology developed, CNG kits had been refined. It became a very easy way to save money because fuel was very, very expensive. They realized that if there is a company-fitted CNG kit in the car, that would be an additional benefit to make that car more attractive for the consumers. And now you could find out that major players of the car industry, they have the company-fitted CNG kits in their cars, which are very attractive for the consumers out there who want to conserve resources and whose basic preference is economy with reference to cars. Students, at this point we discussed that there are many different ways the consumers can be segmented into different groups. And we discussed some standard approaches. We delineated 8 different kinds of segmentation strategies that are popularly used. These included number 1, geographic segmentation, number 2, demographic segmentation, number 3, psychological segmentation, number 4, sociocultural segmentation, use-related segmentation, use situation segmentation, benefit segmentation, and hybrid segmentation approaches. Well, I made a mistake over here. It was not psychological segmentation, it was psychographic segmentation. We discussed this geographic segmentation in detail in the last lecture, and we found out that dividing people into different groups with reference to their location is one very strong variable according to which people can be divided into different groups. Usually companies come up with a strategy in which they divide a certain area or different areas into their separately identifiable geographic locations. The theory behind geographic segmentation is that people living in one area, they have the similar needs and characteristics, and people living in other areas, they have different kinds of needs and characteristics. With reference to different variables included in the geographic segmentation, we identified number 1, region, number 2, city size, density of the area, climate of that region. And with reference to geographic segmentation, we discussed the example of Murray. I gave you some geographic facts about Murray, and then I gave you a list of products, and then I asked you a question to guess as to what kind of products would be more marketable in an area like Murray. Students, this was a brief review of the lecture that we had last time. Now let's proceed to the next part of the chapter. And today we are going to discuss 2 more segmentation strategies. These include number 1, demographic segmentation, and number 2, psychographic segmentation. The demography can be defined something like this, as you could see on the slide. The vital and measurable statistics of a population, demographic characteristics such as age, sex, marital status, income, occupation, and education are most often used as the basis for market segmentation. Similarly, when marketeers observe a population, they try to see that where a population is located. And then they try to define a certain marketing mix with reference to the characteristics of that population. Now come back to the retail store. After you have entered in the retail store and you have located different shelves, then you know that in which area which products are lying. And then you go close to the products, and then you start examining products, you start reading their literature, you examine the products more closely. The demographics example is much of the same way. First, you try to identify that what is the location of the population and what are the main features of that population. Then you try to study them. When you try to study the population, then that means you are trying to understand the sociocultural aspects of that population as well as the psychographics of that population. Psychographic means that what are the lifestyles of the people, what are their habits, what is their culture, all those elements that can only be studied by having an in-depth study of that population. So students, when we talk about demographics, there are few important variables that can be discussed in this regard. And these variables include, as you can see on the slide, number 1, age, number 2, gender, the population is male or female, number 3, income, what is the income level of the people and in how many ways people can be grouped with reference to their incomes, what is the main occupation of the people living in a particular area, what is their education status is, and what is the standard average household size of that place. So let's talk about these variables one by one. Let's first discuss the concept of age. Age is an obvious way to market the products and to segment the market. You could say that in a population there are different age groups existing simultaneously. And matter of fact, if you are watching television advertisements and you would come across different kinds of advertisements in which people from many different age groups are shown. Advertisements have kids, they have elderly people, they have middle-aged people, they have teenagers, they have youngsters, and the common perception about the age groups is something like this. The diapers advertisements are usually concentrating the small infants, the toddlers as well. Then there are toys for children, and then there is entertainment for the people who are above the 19 years of age. If you go to a superstore and you look the superstore closely, can you divide that superstore with reference to age? Of course you can. In superstore, products are placed in a very technical fashion. So all those products that cater for the age group of children or toddlers are placed in such a fashion in that superstore that kids can easily go, see them, touch them. They can even pick them up from the shelves or wherever they are located. So in superstore, the placement of the items is a lot of times done with reference to age, which is why when you enter in a store, you sometimes come across candies, chocolates placed right in front of you. Then there are toys, then there are items that could be attracted, that could attract the kids. And then you enter into the more serious area of the retail store where you would get different kinds of products assorted into different kinds of shelves. So this time around, when you go to a superstore, just try to see it with reference to the age segmentation, and I am sure you would find out some kind of demarcation in that store with reference to the age groups. Different shelves are placed to attract different kinds of age groups in a particular store. Students, when we talk about age, there are two effects that you need to remember. Age is chronological age. It can be perceived as a certain person is X years old. And when we talk about the chronological age, then we are talking about the chronological effect. For example, if you look at a family, in that family there might be youngsters, kids, toddlers. There might be teenagers, there might be middle-aged people, and there might be elderly people, there might be very, very old people who are very senior. So in a family, there is a group of people that come from different age groups. Now, if you turn on the television, you will find out that with reference to those different age groups, there are different advertisements coming. And you would find all of the age groups that are present in the household of a standard family in the advertisements as well. So when we talk about the chronological age effect, then it is important to understand that with every age, our needs and desires with reference to products start changing. Let me give you the example of a family, how it starts. Yet, let's suppose there is a young boy, he is gotten married by his parents, and the new bride and the bridegroom, they start their family life. Since they are the newly married couple and they are young and they are living together, then if you look at their homes, you would find out that they have certain product categories available to them. Now, over the time period, the products that are purchased by them and brought into their homes would start increasing as their family would start increasing. After some time, let's suppose they have a kid. Now, when they have a kid, then different kinds of products would start coming in the house with reference to the kids' requirements. These could be diapers or baby soaps or baby shampoos, the clothes for the babies, healthcare products or the skincare products. So in a household setup that is started by a newly married couple, certainly new things start coming when a new kid borns. Now, let's suppose over a certain time period, they have more kids coming in, and after some time, these kids start growing up. And from being infants, these kids become toddler, they get into the preschool age, and then they finally get admission in the school. Soon as they get admission in the school, there is another range of products that parents have to concentrate upon. These are the kids' uniforms, these are the kids' books, and energy products for the kids so that they could take them to school and they could have their lunch breaks. So you would find out that so many different products start coming into the home as the family expands. Now, with reference to age, products can always be categorized. And the chronological effect is that a certain age group has certain needs and desires, and marketeers need to focus upon those needs and desires of that particular age group. Students, the other effect with reference to age is called cohort effect. And to make you understand the cohort effect, let me give you an example. Have you ever seen middle-aged people or the senior citizens talking about the music of their age, talking about the music when they were young, and they were energetic, and they were ambitious and daring, and they were doing so many different things? At this point, let me also ask you one question, that if you happen to be liking music, every time you turn on your favorite song or your favorite music piece, you would find yourself being transported back in time. In the very circumstances when you actually listen to that song for the first time, or during the time period when that song was being very popular with you and you had been listening to that song more frequently. Now, same is the case with the senior people. They turn on to old music because it reminds them of something, because music has huge associative power, and we usually associate our memories with the music. Now, the middle-aged people and the senior people are listening to older music because they can associate with a time that has passed by, and now they are just refreshing the old memories by listening to a certain kind of song. Now, when we talk about the cohort effect, occurrences due to growing up in a certain time period is called the cohort effect. Some advertisements you must have seen that are using old songs or old movie setups, and these advertisements, strikingly, you would find out that these advertisements usually are of the products that are targeted towards a middle-aged group of the people. You might come across an advertisement of tea, in which you would find out that the entire setup of that advertisement is filmed in, say, late 70s or early 80s time period, and the songs and the jingles are also used from that time period. This is just to create an associative memory amongst the people of the middle age who probably would be the target market of with reference to that particular product, so that they could better associate with that product. So when we talk about the cohort effect, that means that occurrences due to growing up in a certain time period always go on impacting a certain individual. People who have been young in the early 60s, they have different associations, they have different kind of perceptions with reference to different products. And people who are growing up now, the youngsters of these days, they have different kinds of perceptions about things. There would be an entirely different way to impact their perception through advertisement or promotional strategy. And there could be an entirely different method that could be used with the people who were young and youthful way back in 60s or 70s. So marketeers often use the cohort effect to their benefits, and they come up and design their promotional strategies with reference to age and keeping in consideration the cohort effect as well. Students, let's move towards the next variable of the demographics, which is gender. You're right. When we talk about gender, we can see a huge line of product and product categories that are exclusively designed for males and for females. You could, in fact, divide the population straight away between how many females exist in a certain population and how many males exist in a certain population. And just by having a cursory look over the product scene, by going into a retail superstore or watching the television advertisements or just going through the magazine advertisements or just listening to the radio advertisements, that products are divided according to the gender as well. And the marketeers frequently use to categorize their target consumers with reference to their gender. So you would find out that Cosmetic industry, advertisements are most of the times focusing females. Then there is clothing industry that has their specific and specialized audience in terms of males or females. Then there are medical products that could be categorized according to males or females. Then there are sports and other product services. Then there is entertainment. Well, when we talk about entertainment with reference to males and females, that reminds me of a common conflict that goes on these days in the homes, is that in certain homes, ladies would want to watch certain types of channels and males would like to watch certain types of channels, certain other types of channels, because this is the age of media. And recently a lot of television channels have been registered, and we are also watching a lot of foreign channels. So usually what happens in the homes is that males usually tend to see more information-oriented programs. Males are more interested in programs that reveal information, technical information about different things in the world, because it is perceived that males are usually interested in getting hardcore information. On the other hand, females are probably a little more interested in watching the soaps, in watching TV serials, dramas, or movies in which the themes revolve around the situations of the household. Usually the plays that show the stories of different characters that are living in a family situation are more appreciated by the ladies. Well, these are the general stereotypes. It does not mean that males or females can be categorized with reference to their perceptions, and females always like plays and movies, and males always like the documentary programs or the news bulletins. However, there is sometimes a general conflict emerging in the homes on the television when males come up with different demands and females come up with different demands as to what kind of channels or programs would they like to watch. So you could see that there are certain channels that are specializing in the programs specially designed to attract the female audience. And there are certain other channels that are specializing in the programs which are making interesting movies or documentaries or news bulletins to attract the senior male audience. And simultaneously there are certain channels who are attracting both males and females. Students, at this point, let me tell you about another point when we talk about the gender. In the modern day age, you would come across a situation where the gender roles are blurring into each other, which means that you can find out that there are females who are more interested in the things that were previously done by the males. And you may come across males who are into doing things that were previously considered the female kinds of things. For example, you may see that males these days would be interested in purchasing the hair care products or the skin care products, while the ladies are purchasing the hardcore technical equipment to fix up the problems in their homes. You can come across males who are taking care of the kids, and you are also watching that there are ladies who are working side by side with the male counterparts in the society. Now ladies can even enlist in the armies, they can become doctors, they can become engineers. In fact, sky is the limit for the ladies, and they can get into any kind of profession. And there is probably very little or no demarcation between the male professions and the female professions. Both are working side by side in different fields. Now, why there is a blurring in the gender roles? Why do you see males doing things that were perceived as the things that were previously done by the females, and vice versa? One reason which has been researched out could be that nowadays there is dual income homes, which means both husband and wife work to make their ends meet. Since both of them are earning hands, then they have very little time to take care of the kids. If the husband is going to the office and the wife is also going to the office, then who's going to take care of the kids? There at times emerges a conflict in which people start taking sides that the females should not be working, or the males should be working and females should be staying at home. However, these stereotypes are no more functional in the modern day society, where dual income homes are frequently emerging up, where both males as well as females are working. But the problem is definitely there, that who's going to take care of the kids, or who's going to take care of the homely affairs. Previously it was the women's domain, but now women are exploring different kinds of fields, and they are becoming professionals in areas where previously there were only the males. The answer, a simple answer that solves the problem, is that both husband and wife will have to find out time to take care of the children. So the modern male can be seen as going to the office in the morning, staying there, working hard, and simultaneously coming back and changing the diapers of the young baby, or dropping him or her to school, and taking care of their basic needs. Females can go to the offices, and they can take care of the kids as well. So both the male and the female counterpart in a house, they have to coordinate with each other, they have to cooperate with each other to take care of the responsibilities. So the stereotypes of male as well as the female are blurring into each other, which is why there has been a slight change perceived in the sex roles. And this idea is being materialized effectively in the marketing strategies of many product manufacturers. Just to give you a brief idea as to the change in the stereotypes, let me show you a picture in which an old conservative father is shown with his child. As you can see on the picture, there's an old man who's going along the road with his son, and you could see that the old man is slightly appears to be conservative. He's maintaining his distance, and he appears to be serious kind of person. In the next picture, you are watching a young man who's a young father, and he is giving bath to his little baby. This kind of picture was usually associated with the ladies previously. So now you could see that because of the blur in the roles, you could come across advertisements of diapers in which there has been a development from the traditional role of seeing women taking care of babies, or women giving shower to the babies, to the advertisements in which males are also shown changing diapers of their babies. And matter of fact, this could be an attractive proposition for a diapers advertisement, that changing the diapers of children is so easy that even the males can take care of that. Students, at this point, let's move forward to the next variable included in the demographics, and that is marital status. At the start of discussing this variable, let me ask you a question. What do you think is the perfect unit for the marketeers where they could find buyers of all ages under one roof? I mean, what is one place where people of all ages live together? Of course, that is a home. That is a family. A family is constituted by people, and families come in many different shapes and sizes, but usually marketeers come across almost all kinds of audience in the singular unit of family, especially in the Eastern countries where the family values are still very strong, and families are very cohesive with each other, जहाँ पर अभी भी family का unit जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा established है, और लोग एक दूसरे के साथ मिलजुल कर एक family के environment में रहते हैं. So there are different buying characteristics of people in different stages of the family. When I talk about the stages of the family, that means that there are different age groups included in the family, and then there are different gender groups also included in the family. There are males and females who come from different age groups. If we can differentiate these age groups, or we can divide them according to their age, the picture would emerge something like this. As you could see on the slide, the buying patterns are significantly different amongst these age groups that are shown on the slide. 0 to 5 years is young children, 6 to 19 years is school children, 20 to 34 years is young adults, 35 to 49 is younger middle-aged, 50 to 64 is 65 plus who are seniors, and then there are 80 plus who are seniors also. Marketeers have realized the benefits of segmenting the special marital status groupings. And when it comes down to the special marital status groupings, then they tend to divide consumers with reference to their marital status in a fashion which is something like this. This is the family life cycle stages, and number one is young. In that is included a single young person, then there is young married with no children, then there is young married with children, then there is young divorced without children, then there is young divorced with children, then there is the next family life cycle stage of the middle-aged, in which we can include the same categories that are married without children, divorced without children, married with children, divorced with children, married without dependent children, and divorced without dependent children. The third is older life cycle stage, in which we can include the older married couples and the older unmarried couples. That would include the unmarried or divorced or widowed. And finally, there are other categories that marketeers define themselves according to their own requirements of segmenting. Now let's move towards the next variable included in the demographic segment, and the next variable is income. Students, income is an important variable to segment the markets. It is a strong indicator that someone can purchase a certain product or a certain item, or someone cannot purchase a certain product or a certain brand of that product. To understand the income more closely, let me give you an example. There was a magazine in America that struggled for 6 years at 16 pages per issue, which means that this magazine was being published in America. And for 6 years, this magazine was being published in 16 pages, which means that probably their marketing strategy was not very strong, and the consumption of that magazine in the target audience was also not increasing over the long span of 6 years time period. The distribution of magazine then was changed so that it was delivered only to amongst the families that earned more than $100,000 a year. All they did was to change their audience, concentrate on the income level of the audience, and make a big shift in the audience. So previously the magazine was being marketed to all kinds of audiences, but this time around they started marketing this magazine in the audience that had the annual income of $100,000 or more. And once they started distributing this magazine in these richer families, then it became a huge attraction for the advertisers. Because this magazine was going in the affluent families who had the enlarged buying power and who usually have the capacity to purchase more products and more expensive products, and advertisers are always hungry for identifying such audiences and then targeting their advertisement strategies on such audiences, then this magazine became a very strong media vehicle for them to be used. So they started advertising in that magazine, and in about a few months time period, this magazine increased from 16 pages to 40 pages. And the magazine started prospering. So students, you could see that income level is a very strong base upon which the marketeers are constantly segmenting their target consumers. And sometimes they can have very radical results by shifting from one income level into another income level. These results may not always be positive. Sometimes they can be drastic as well. So marketeers need to be very, very careful when they are shifting from one income level to another income level. A special situation is the one in which marketeers are trying to market their products in different income levels. When they are targeting different income levels, then they need other psychographic studies as well, so that they could understand that what are the lifestyles and the socioeconomic statuses of people in different social groups. So that once they have understood their language, their lifestyles, their living styles, then they can tune into their living pattern through their promotional and advertisement strategies and schemes. Students, usually income levels are combined with other demographic variables as well, and this is done very, very carefully. Most often income levels are combined with the age groups as well. So when the income level is combined with the age group, this is done to identify the affluent elders. This is generally found out that people who are in their middle ages or in their elderly ages, they are on a stage of their life where they have practiced most of things, where they have experienced most of things, and where they have had a number of years of living in their professional life, so they could be more affluent than the youngsters or the teenagers who in Pakistan happen to be a little more dependent than the teenagers in other countries or the industrialized countries of the world. So high income is combined with age to identify the affluent elders. It may also be combined with age as well as the occupations also. Students, education, age, and income are the three variables that are frequently correlated with each other. And there is a natural cause and effect relationship between the three. Naturally, the jobs that are well-paying would require well education. Education, age, and income, they tend to be more closely related with each other. High levels of occupation that produce high income usually require a higher education as well. So students, these were the intricacies of the demographic segmentation. Now let's move towards the next segmentation, which is called psychographic segmentation. Let me define the psychographic segmentation for you. Psychographic segmentation is lifestyle, social class, and personality-based segmentation. Students, when you see advertisements on the television, or you come across advertisements in the magazines or newspapers, or you listen to advertisements being telecasted on the radio, then you come across different kinds of situations in these advertisements, which means that advertisements are always based upon a certain theme, and then against that theme certain characters are fixed into that theme, and then those characters do certain things that revolve around the main storyline of that advertisement. So what you see largely in an advertisement is mostly lifestyles, personality characteristics, occupations, opinions, social classes, ideologies. You come across people who have different ideas that they want to discuss, that they convey to you, and they convey those ideas in very, very attractive fashions. So advertisements are usually like small plays or like small skits in which a slice of life is presented in a very attractive fashion to the target consumers. This is done just to inspire the target consumers and to help the target consumers associate with the products marketed in that particular segment in more effective manner. So just to define a relationship between a product and its target segment, the entire idea of advertisement requires a lot of creativity behind its creation. So when you see advertisement and you see these lifestyles, and if you ponder a little bit, you will find out that in the advertisements, the stories are not just presented off the cuff. The stories are well thought about, and someone has done or conducted a lot of research behind identifying those characters and coming up with the theme of the story. And this is done through the psychographical research. The psychographic research is trying to find out the lifestyle, the personality characteristics, the culture of a particular social class or a social group. So when we talk about the psychographic segmentation, then this requires a lot of research, because you could find out demographic information or geographical information through the questionnaires, but when it comes down to psychographic information, then a lot of research needs to be done in order to really identify that what are the opinions, interests, and activities of the people. So psychographic profiles of the people comprise of three things. These three things are, number one, activities, interests, and opinions of the target segment. Usually psychographic profiles are gathered out through painstaking studies and researches, in which a lot of times qualitative research is the main theme of the research. Students, activities, interests, and opinion research seeks to find out responses to a large number of statements from the target audience. And when we talk about activities, that means that how the consumers spend their time. And when we talk about interest, that means that what are the consumers interested into? I mean, what kind of products they are looking for, what kind of features do they require in their products. And when we talk about opinions, then it means that how the consumers feel about a wide variety of topics and political issues, social issues. So all this information is included into the psychographical profile, and psychographical profiles are constructed after painstaking researches. Students, AIO psychographic studies make use of psychographic inventory. Now let us define what is a psychographic inventory. Psychographic inventory is designed to identify relevant aspects of consumers' personality, buying motives, interests, attitudes, beliefs, and values. In order to give you an idea that how a psychographic inventory is constructed, let me take you back to the lecture in which we discussed the attitude scales. We discussed Likert scale as well as semantic differential scale, which is very relevant to the construction of a psychographic inventory. In this, researchers do one thing, which is to study different activities, interests, and opinions that are most common with the people of a certain segment of society. They note them down very, very carefully, and then they design different statements with reference to each of the activities, interests, or opinions noted. These statements are then followed by a semantic differential scale or a Likert scale. You remember semantic differential scale was having bipolar adjectives on two sides of a continuum, and Likert scale was having the neutral option in the middle and having the negative option on the right side and the positive option on the left side. So the respondents can mark each of this statement on a Likert scale or a semantic differential scale. The respondents can mark their choices on the respective category on the inventory, which means that whatever respondents choose that describes their activities, interest, or opinion, they can mark that option down on the questionnaire. Now, researchers will distribute this questionnaire among who happen to be into the category of the target segment. After this questionnaire has been filled out by a large number of people and they have been received by the researchers, then they can run their statistical analysis to find out that which activities, interests, or opinions are more popular with their target segmentation. And they can address these activities or interests in their relative or relevant promotional and advertisement scheme. Student, this was a bit of detail about psychographic inventories. We will discuss the remaining portion in the next lecture. At this point, we are running short of time. So let me bid you farewell. अपना ख्याल रखिएगा और मुझे इजाज़त दीजिए. मिलते हैं next lecture में. खुदा हाफिज़.